Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us today. This broadcast is a joint webinar between AMCA International and EGBC, and the topic today is the importance of certification. I am Lisa Cherney, the Education Manager for AMCA International, and I will be serving as the webinar moderator today. Just a little background on me. I will be with AMCA 3 years next week. I am responsible for the development of education programs for AMCA. I also am the staff liaison for the Education and Training Committee. And besides webinars, various projects that I'm involved with include AMCA's online learning platform, presentations at trade shows, issuing PDH and RCP account management, and the AMCA Speakers Network. A few guidelines for today's program. The audience is muted during the webinar. If you do have questions that we will address at the end of the program, please feel free to submit that at any time. And the webinar is being recorded. So the recording and the PDF version of today's slide deck will be posted both on the AMCA website as well as on the EGBC YouTube channel later this week. And for anyone who is seeking PDH credit hour for today's program, please know that you do need to stay with us for the entire broadcast. And a survey or an evaluation will be sent out via a link. You will see the link and a QR code at the end of this presentation on one of the slides. And the link will also be shared with you by EGBC. And that survey is a requirement for credit to be earned. Quickly again, from the attendee panel on the side of your screen, please select the questions drop-down box, type your question and click send, and we will answer those at the end of today's program. AMCA International, just so you are aware, does have authorization to issue PDH credits through their membership with the Registered Continuing Education Program, RCEP. A brief disclaimer that the information in today's webinar is provided by AMCA as an education service only, and it is not intended to serve as professional engineering and or manufacturing advice. The views being expressed are those of the presenter, and in making this activity available, AMCA is not endorsing, sponsoring, or recommending any particular company, product, or application. And under no circumstances, including negligence, shall AMCA International be liable for damages that arise out of a party's reliance upon or use of the content contained in the webinar. Today's program is copyrighted by AMCA International. And I would like to share some background information very quickly about EmiratesGBC. EmiratesGBC is a membership-driven organization that was formed in 2006 with the goal of advancing green building principles for protecting the environment and ensuring sustainability in the UAE. The mission of EGBC is a catalyst for collaboration and a hub of excellence to promote sustainability on the built environment in the UAE, and their vision is for the UAE to be a global leader for sustainability in the built environment. To introduce today's speaker from AMCA International, I would like to introduce Charlie Myers. He is our Certified Ratings Program Manager. Charlie joined us in June of 2021, and over the past 10 years, his experience has been in managing and administering the ISO IEC 17065 product certification programs on a global scale. He has additional expertise in project management and quality control program development. And Charlie earned his bachelor's degree in criminology and criminal justice from the University of Missouri, and he also holds a certificate in product management from Loyola University, Chicago. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Charlie. And Charlie, while you are sharing some of these learning objectives, I will go ahead and give you control over the screen.
All right, well, thank you, Lisa. And thank you to the fine folks at EGBC for putting on today's webinar. Bear with me here 1 sec. Oh, Lisa, are you
I
seeing?
am here, and that is my bad. I apologize to the attendees. It is 6 in the morning in the US, so I may not have all of my focus where it needs to be. We do not want to change presenter. We just want to let Charlie have control over the screen, which,
Okay,
sorry, Charlie, it's early.
not a problem, Lisa.
You're
So
all good.
excellent. So hello, everybody. Again, thank you to all who are attending, and thank you again to the folks at EGBC for putting on today's webinar. Today, I will be going over the importance of certification, a brief run through of the purpose of today's webinar and the learning objectives. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an introduction to AMCA International, address the importance of product certification and what is involved in that process, and how manufacturers, specifiers, and industry professionals benefit from it. At the end of the presentation, you'll be able to identify benefits AMCA offers to the industry, explain AMCA's CRP process, describe the difference between test versus certify, and explain the importance of specifying certified products. Now, a brief introduction into AMCA. We are established as a non-for-profit manufacturer association for manufacturers who work in the air movement and air control industry. Examples being fan, damper, louver manufacturers. We were established in 1917 with 6 member companies in the United States. Since then, we've expanded our reach globally to almost 400 companies that span on every continent in the world, albeit exempt from Antarctica. So the AMCA mission is to advance the knowledge of air systems and uphold industry integrity on behalf of AMCA members worldwide. And again, a brief snapshot of what our members manufacture. We are primarily focused, again, on air control and air movement. However, there are a few exceptions to that in areas such as airflow measurement and acoustical attenuation. As I mentioned before, we do have a global reach, but we also maintain a local touch. We have recently expanded to the point where the majority of our members are outside of North America, with 162 members based in Asia. We've since expanded our reach in the Middle East, as well as a slight growth in Europe as well. Now, in each of these regions, we do have local representation. I'll touch on in a little bit here. Oh, there we are. So the AMCA Certified Ratings Program, just to give you a brief snapshot on the program as a whole, has been in existence for at least 50 years. Currently, we have 4,126 product lines that are certified in the program. And the purpose of the program and why we've established the program is to provide the industry, whether it be specifiers, local jurisdictions, anybody within the general public, the ability to know that what they are purchasing or what they're going to be installing in their facility is exactly what they are reviewing as part of the product catalogs. So again, why to specify these certified products? It gives increased reliability of the ratings that they're reviewing in those catalogs, either being print or within the electronic product software. It provides an apples to apples comparison between products that are found in the field. Again, it provides the assurance that the catalogs are up to date and accurate, and that check test ensure that ratings are accurate over time, that what you are looking at is continued performance, not necessarily based off of one test report, but that this is a consistent performance rating of the product throughout its life cycle. Now, who can participate in the program? It is a common misnomer that you have to be an AMCA member to participate in the Certified Ratings Program. Now, while we highly encourage being an AMCA member, we do allow non-members to participate through our CRP affiliates program. Again, a brief snapshot on the product certification that are carried. We are actively growing in the Middle East as well as in Asia. Again, however, we still carry quite a large variety of products that are based out of North America. Now, to go into the CRP process, there are 5 steps that need to occur before a product can claim certification through the AMCA CRP program. Those 5 are to test the product, to apply for certification, to review the information that was presented, to certify the product, and then to verify through ongoing check testing. And we'll get into each one of those here shortly. But before we address those 5 steps, a member must establish a license agreement allowing participation in the Certified Ratings Program. This is a contract between the licensee as AMCA. This is only signed once, and the appendix for each product is added as you build your Certified Ratings Program portfolio. Now, establishing this agreement is a ISO 17065 requirement, and one will need to be established before we grant any certification for any participant. As mentioned before, the first step in participating in the Certified Ratings Program is to test your product. Now, in order to test the product, we need to develop a test program. This is often done with assistance from AMCA staff. The reason why we assist on establishing this test plan is we ensure that the test program that is being put together will lead to certification. Each product type has its own specific requirements for certification, meaning that we have to test particular dimensions at particular test methods. We want to make sure that those items are addressed rather than have members pay for testing that can't be utilized, the ultimate goal of certification. 2 types of documents control how products are tested and rated. The testing is done through a test standard, and AMCA has established test standards through our standard development organization arm. If there are any questions on those, and I'll touch on a few of them, if they want to review any of those standards, please feel free to reach out to us after the webinar, and we can certainly provide that information. In addition to those standards, publications describe how a product is rated. This will dictate what products need to be tested and how they need to be rated in order to be eligible for the Certified Ratings Program. In addition, a few items that wish to address as part of the test plan is the establishment of sizes. It is a common misnomer that every size would need to be tested in order to be eligible. This is incorrect. Not every size needs to be tested. However, we do need to make sure that the requirements of the program are being met. Certain types of products are simple, like louvers, where we would test a 48-inch by 48-inch louver. That those are relatively simple. However, if we're talking about something that carries a wide range of diameters and pitches, such as an axial fan, there could be dozens of test sizes. Again, this is why we ask that potential participants in the CRP reach out to AMCA to make sure that we have everything addressed up front and that we know exactly what needs to be done to be eligible for certification. In addition, two products that are tested in the exact same way may be rated differently. Depending on the product, this can differ greatly, and if there are additional questions, we can provide information such as publication 211 that delves into the rating methods. Again, a brief snapshot into some of the testing programs that we established. For dampers, we would generally test in both directions of airflow, so intake and exhaust. We do have test figures that outline that process as well. Again, if there are any questions about those test figures, we can certainly provide information outside of the webinar. And a brief snapshot of the tests that would be performed. Again, these are all outlined through the standards established through AMCA. Again, brief snapshot of these, we won't get into them, but if you do want additional information, we can certainly provide that to you. So we do have standards for each different product type, as you can see on the screen. And a few of the standards established for air control products, such as dampers, louvers, airflow measuring stations, and the like. As mentioned earlier, we do while we do have a global reach, we do take a local approach. We are established in regions throughout the world. Specifically in the Middle East, we do operate with agency over there to provide local support. And in addition to that, for a particular type of testing for louvers, for wind-driven sand, we do utilize Thomas Bell Wright as a contracted testing facility to perform those tests. However, depending on your manufacturing location, we can test in various areas throughout the world to provide a more local touch compared to working at one facility that may not be close to you. Once the test plan has been established and testing has occurred, you would apply for certification. We would ask you to complete the application form, and as part of that application form, we would ask you to provide specific information such as the product type, the product size, and dimensions, as well as drawings that would outline construction of the product and the type of certification you are applying for. Now, AMCA does offer different types of certification depending on the ratings that you are looking to validate on the field. We do offer air performance and air leakage testing certification depending on the type of product. That's more specific to the air control side. Air movement, we do provide air performance certification. In addition to that, we do offer sound certification as well, either through inlet outlet sound, octave band ratings, SON ratings, and the like. Once that information has been provided to AMCA, be it the application as well as the product catalog that will contain the ratings that were established through the aforementioned testing, staff will review the catalogs or the selection program to make sure that the information aligns with what was tested and that the format meets AMCA requirements. AMCA does have specific statements that needs to be included for different products in our certification program. Those statements are aligned in the publications that are associated with each product type. And to give an example of what one of those statements look like, I would put up one of the ones that's associated with the air movement side of our certified ratings program. Just to read that off, ABC Company certifies that fan 123 shown herein is licensed to bear the AMCA seal. The ratings shown are based on tests and procedures performed in accordance with AMCA Publication 211 and AMCA Publication 311 and comply with the requirements of the AMCA Certified Ratings Program. Performance is certified for installation type B, free inlet, ducted outlet. Performance ratings do not include the effects of occurrences. Again, this is a brief snapshot of the types of statements that need to be included depending on the products that are certified. That statement may differ in addition to depending on the type of installation as well. If the information as provided aligns with what was found during testing and what is required as part of the program, we will issue the appendix to the license agreement mentioned earlier. This license agreement will allow use of the AMCA seal signifying participation in the certified ratings program. This appendix will mention the size, the catalog, the type of certification granted, and the date of certification as well. In addition to that, you will be provided with a link to our public directory, which shows participants in the certified ratings program. This is meant to provide an accurate third-party representation to any jurisdiction, any specifier that the information that you provide on project submittals is in fact correct. In addition to that link, there will also be a link to the approved catalog on the AMCA website. We host those catalogs. That way there is a comparison that can be made by the project specifier or anybody that the information that was included in the job proposal is exactly what is in front of them and what is approved by AMCA. Our directory is split into two sections. We are split between product types and license types. So depending on the type of certification you have or the type of product that is certified, you can search for those as well. You may also see that gray bar up at the top if you are looking for a particular company, product type, or wishing to search by country. You can search in there with in that keyword search above. The last step of the certified ratings program is the validation of the product after the initial testing is performed. This is done through check test. We will perform our first check test depending on the sample that is received for initial testing. If we received a pre-production sample, we will require a production sample within 12 months of certification, the granting of certification. If we received a production sample, we will require that a check test be performed within 36 months of certification being granted. If the check test performed is found to be within tolerance, which is generally within plus or minus 5% of the ratings found during initial testing, we will continue with check test. From there forward, the second check test will be within 36 months, the third 36 months after the second. Once we get to the fourth check test, if there have been no issues and everything remains within tolerance, we will expand the time frame between check tests. So the fourth check test will be within 60 months, and the fifth check test will be within 84 months. Now, if a check test is found to be not within tolerance, there are three options available to those members. The first option is to inspect the product and resubmit for testing. This does happen on occasion where a product may be damaged or something, an issue may be found through transportation. We will send that product back to you for inspection with the expectation that the product will be sent back for retesting. The second option is a recatalog of the data that is in your product catalogs. That needs to be done within 6 months based off of the tests that were the check tests performed. The last option, and certainly one that we do not encourage, you do have the ability to withdraw the product from the certified ratings program. If it is found to be not within tolerance, we will ask that the product be retested within 12 months to ensure that the product is meeting those new or current tolerances or ratings established in the program. And if you are further down the line, as mentioned before, if you were accelerated into the fifth check test and unfortunately do not pass check test on the sixth, the clock resets. So we would need to move back to the 3 years after the initial 12-month retest. If for whatever reason you may be running into issues with the check test, we do have to enforce the program, and one of those arms is through the suspension process. And to give you an example of what would qualify for suspension of the certified ratings program: failure to ship the unit for a check test, failure to correct product after a failed check test, and failure to submit a mandatory recatalog. Obviously, we certainly don't want that to happen, and we'll certainly work with you. However, there is the enforcement of the program that does need to be addressed. And in addition to that, to any issues found during testing, there are also violations of the certified ratings program. And to give you an example of some of the violations that are typically found: if a seal that represents participation in the certified ratings program is applied to a non-certified product, this is considered a violation of the program. If certification is expanded to other products or to other model lines or other sizes without informing AMCA, this is considered a violation of the program. So if you also add non-certified performance to a product catalog, we would consider that a violation, again, if you do not inform AMCA of that prior to updating your catalogs. If you include a member logo adjacent to a performance rating, that is considered a violation of the program. We do have specific requirements to represent participation in the program, such as our CRP seal. And lastly, published non-approved catalogs are considered a violation if they contain any reference to AMCA or participation in a CRP program. We do post these violations on AMCA website through our non-certified product section, as well as our program violation notices, and just brief examples of what constitutes each one of those. We do aim always for better enforcement of the program. And that is done through vigilance, either through the market, such as specifiers, members, seeing what is out in the field, but also here at AMCA through reviews of company websites, as well as product selection software that may be available through companies as well. We also pay particular attention to the difference between testing and certified statements that are included in marketing materials and catalogs. It is important to understand these differences. Testing is strictly stating that testing was performed on the product. Certification means participation in a certified ratings program. Just because a product has been tested doesn't necessarily mean that it has been certified. So it is important to note the difference between those and recognize that if someone is only claiming testing, that means that the product has been tested but does not claim continued performance of the product. We've also been incredibly vigilant on recognizing unapproved catalogs that are listed on companies' websites, any misuse of the AMCA seal, and false claims of AMCA certification. However, we do rely on the vigilance of members and participants and the general public, such as yourself, to make us aware of any things that don't seem right. And if going through our directory, it's not necessarily clear, please reach out to myself or to any members here at AMCA. We will happily get an answer for you on whether or not that what you're seeing out in the field is accurate information. As I mentioned before, we do offer our website as a public-facing tool to help validate participation in our CRP program. The website is on the screen above. You can verify the AMCA seal that is included in submittal, the model number, any approved catalogs or selection software that's used, and verify the seals that are affixed to the product. Please note that the seal on the product is an optional requirement. We do not require that a seal be affixed to the product, unlike, say, a safety certification body. This is 100% optional, and really the tool to validate participation in the certified ratings program is the catalog that should have been included as part of the submittal. We do wish to provide some resources to you. As mentioned before, we do have our amca.org website, as well as our CRP site within that page. And lastly, the publication that outlines the certified ratings program is publication 11. This can be found on the AMCA website. If you are having difficulties, we can certainly provide you with a copy after today's webinar. And with that, Lisa, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Charlie. That was a great overview. Thank you for providing that. A couple of notes that I will share with the audience before we get to Q&A. As you see on your screen, there is a QR code that you can scan with your phone camera that will take you to the survey for today's program. We appreciate all feedback. And if you are seeking PDH credit for today, please note you do have a requirement to fill out that survey to qualify for the credit. But again, even if you do not want PDH credit, we would love to hear your feedback about today's presentation. If you don't like using QR codes, there is a link on screen, which I am going to, I apologize. Still early for me. That link will also be included in a follow-up thank you email that you will receive from EGBC in approximately 1 day, so you can use the link to take the survey as well. So let's move on to questions. Charlie, we have several that came in pretty quickly. And if you don't mind, the first one is something that I'm going to answer. We have a question about, is there a reciprocity or any type of agreement similar to that between the USGBC and the EGBC? And actually, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to ask Mohammed from EGBC to activate his microphone because he probably can speak best to that. And Mohammed, I apologize. I thought the question was about reciprocity between AMCA and EGBC, but it is not.
No worries, Lisa. No
Yeah,
worries. Well, of course, well, first of all, this is Mohammed from Emirates Green Building Council. And to answer this question, yes, of course. So both of us, Emirates Green Building Council and USGBC, are part of a global network headed by the World Green Building Council. And there's a lot of projects that we work on together, including their LEED certification here in the UAE and the region, and as well as other projects that are run mainly by the World Green Building Council, and all the green building councils around the world are involved in.
great. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
we have a question, Charlie, for you. Could you please explain the CRP affiliate program in more detail and what the requirements are for that?
Yes, the CRP affiliates program is an avenue for non-members to participate in a certified ratings program. ISO 17065 requires that any manufacturer of a product within a scope be eligible. And rather than excluding any non-members, we as a ISO 17065 accredited certification body have to open it up to any and all participants or manufacturers within the scope of our certification. The steps for that is certainly something that we can provide offline. There is a 3-year commitment to the program, and additional cost beyond the overall structure of testing and catalog review that we can really dive into after today's session, and we can provide that to EGBC or any mailers beyond today's discussion.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. So we have the next question is a real world example or scenario. So this is Mohammed asking about some types of centrifugal fans that are coming with the AMCA seal on it, so they are certified, but the fan cannot necessarily be used as is. There must be some additional work on the fan when utilizing it, such as in an installation shaft with bearings or some other situation like putting the fan on a steel base, if that scenario is what's happening in the field, is that affecting or jeopardizing the certification of that fan?
Any changes that are made to the product that could enhance or modify or change the ratings that are specified, yes. Simply put, that does impact the certification of that particular product. Lisa, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, so if Mohammed, for example, or anyone else is in a situation where they are working with or are in receipt of certified products, yet modifications in the field itself need to be made, how should they handle that?
From a certified ratings program, if a specifier has changed, or if anybody has made a change to the product, as that's something that needs to be brought to AMCA's attention. We can certainly perform a review. I don't want to say with a 100% certainty that whatever change has been made to the product may or may not affect the performance. It really needs to be done on a case-by-case basis. My recommendation would be to reach out to the folks at AMCA, as well as notifying the fan manufacturer as well, to make them aware that their products are being modified out in the field. That does jeopardize their name as well. And we can work towards finding a solution, or if it is something that does need to be specified or addressed through an engineering judgment again, or some notification to a building owner or local jurisdiction, we can address it at that point in time. But without necessarily getting into the specifics of it, it can be a very difficult answer to provide.
But a great question to have someone ask, because I'm sure it's a very, as I said, a real world situation. So yeah, thank you, Mohammed, for that question. So we have a follow-up question. Is noise covered by AMCA?
By noise, I'm assuming that you are mentioning sound, that you're referring to sound. And yes, that is one of our ratings that is covered as part of our certified ratings program.
Okay, great. And so we have, let me see here, a follow-up to the question about just before this, about the modification in the field. The follow-up is, so in many cases, the AMCA seal would then therefore be meaningless, since the product would need to be installed as a shaft. And as a follow-up, a valid point that this asker is making is, it's not always easy for the people in the field to be able to coming back to AMCA for each case if they're doing daily work on different job sites.
Again, it really depends on the specifics of the project. If any modifications are being made to the product that would affect its performance, I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but without actually getting into the specifics, we would need to review that information. Again, we do offer our local support for answers or provide contacts, but without actually getting into the specifics, we can't provide a definitive yes or no 100% answer that everything that they see out in the field is, or if any change is being made that may or may not impact the performance. I wish it would be easier than that, but unfortunately, there is no simple answer to that question.
Not a simple situation. And if anyone does have an additional question for Charlie or for Mohammed with EGBC, please go ahead and submit that in the questions box at this time. I will mention, and I'm going to deviate from the slide deck for a moment and share my screen with people to give you a view of where the publications that Charlie referenced can be found on the AMCA website. If you go to amca.org and go to our publish area, this is where you would find the documentation, specifically what we refer to at AMCA as our 11, quote unquote, 11 publications. For CRP, you would go to Program Documents. And the one that we mentioned today is the Certified Ratings Program Operating Manual, publication 11. All of the 11 publications listed here address different product types or categories. They are all free for download, PDF download, including Pub 11. So as Charlie mentioned, this is kind of the master document that people should reference, not just to become familiar with the CRP rating program and how it operates, but really as a reference guide throughout the process. So to go to the Certify section of AMCA's website, this would be the site where Charlie referenced all the information you really could need or want to know about our certified ratings program is posted. There's an overview, the product search, information about fan energy index as it relates to products, checklists that you can become familiar with either prior to your certification or as you're going through it. And then again, the violations or the suspensions that might come up if there's a problem with a product during the process of certification, if people don't submit appropriately for their check tests, etc., that will all be listed on this section of the website. So we do encourage you, our site is open to the public. It is free for anyone to look up any information they like. So that's a shameless plug for the AMCA website. I am also going to let people know that under the Educate page, we do have a link to our online education portal. And one of the items that we have available on there is a module about the Certified Ratings Program. This is our course catalog. It is free to view if you click through our website from the Educate page. We do have a module about the AMCA Certified Ratings Program, and this is a nice manageable group size. I think it would be appropriate and a benefit if, not if, what I can do and what Charlie and I can do is offer everybody on this webinar free access to this module. It talks about the program. It goes into a little more detail than Charlie had time for today, but it talks about the CRP process, how to verify the certification. Again, it really gets into details about the difference between test versus certify, which I think Charlie pointed out very well and would agree 100 times over, is a very, very important concept that people understand when dealing with AMCA certified products, that tested products do not equate to certified products. So for everyone in this webinar, usually it's a $35 fee for the module because it is PDH granting. You do get a certificate of completion. So the $35 is helping us administer keeping all this education online. But for the people in today's program, we will give you access to that for free. So please watch for an email from AMCA, from myself specifically as the education manager. I will give you information on how to link to that program. and we'd be happy to share it with you and get you involved in the platform, the education platform, if you are not already involved at this point. So I'm trying to see if we have any additional questions. I don't see anything specifically. Just to remind you all that the PDF version of this slide presentation, as well as the recording, will be available both on the AMCA website and the EGBC YouTube channel within approximately 48 hours. It does take a little time to process all of that documentation and the recording download, but we will have those available for free. And on behalf of Mohammed, I do also want to mention that EGBC encourages you all to stay tuned for future education webinar programs that are being developed right now and will be announced hopefully in the next few weeks. You can always check their website or the AMCA website for any joint programs or individual programs. And Mohammed, is there anything you would like to add before we close the program for today?
Thank you, Lisa. Well, I would just advise everyone to keep an eye on our website and on our communication channels, whether it be social media or our newsletter, as we host monthly technical workshops, in
Wonderful.
addition to other events and trainings.
Wonderful. Well, Mohammed, thank you very much for the opportunity to partner with you today on this
Thank you
program.
very much, Lisa. Thank you very much, Charles.
Yes, thank you, Charlie, for your information. And as mentioned, if you have any questions at all about the AMCA CRP program, about certified products, or anything related to that, please do not hesitate to reach out to Charlie directly. His email can be found through the link right on our website under staff or under CRP. And we thank you all and wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.